This is how you'll be able to differentiate between God's voice, your own, and the devil. The first one that we need to recognize is God's, because once we do this, it's going to be the filter for the other two. Romans 12:2 says that we need to be transformed by the renewing of our mind, and in that way we'll be able to test and approve what God's will is. The only way that we renew our mind is by getting new thoughts and new ideas, and we do this by spending time with God and spending time in His Word. His voice will never contradict what is already in here, and once you have enough word in you, you will be able to hear His voice more clearly, because you already know His character, you already know how He speaks. Second is His voice is gonna bring you peace, but what I don't hear enough people say is that it's also gonna call you out of your comfort zone. It's gonna feel a little uncomfortable, and the perfect example for this is Moses, when God called him from the burning bush to bring the Israelites out of Egypt. He gave Moses the peace of, I'll be with you, I'll be the one that is actually gonna make everything happen, but he was calling him out of his comfort zone. He was calling him out of the fear that he was living in. Our own voice will usually come with doubt, fear, or selfishness. We see doubt and fear really well in the story of Moses as well, because he doubted himself. He was even trying to convince God that he was not the man for that job. And we see selfishness really well in the story of Jonah, when God calls him to preach to the people of Nineveh, and he literally walks the opposite direction of that place, because he knew that God wanted to forgive them. He knew that God was going to be compassionate to them, and he simply didn't want that to happen for them. He was being selfish and just thinking that they didn't deserve it. Now, the devil's voice will usually come questioning what God already spoke over your life. The perfect example of this is in the garden, when the serpent asked Eve, did God really say that you would die if you ate from the fruit? And also will come trying to stop God's will for your life. We see this when Peter told Jesus that he wouldn't allow him to die, and Jesus tells him, get behind me, Satan, because he had good intentions, but he wanted to stop God's will. In 2 Corinthians, it says that we need to bring captive every thought to the obedience of Christ. And it's something that requires practice and awareness. But once we do this, once we start asking questions, it's going to become easier to know whose voice we're listening to.